What do you got for us, TK?
All right. Peace Garden Mama posts. Boundaries sound like, I can help, but I cannot do this for you. I am not responsible for your emotions. I respect your opinion, but I have my own opinion as well. I understand you're upset, and I am not okay with being spoken to that way. I am done talking about this. I need you to understand what I'm feeling. I don't need help problem solving right now. Right now, I need some time to myself. I would love to hear more about this later. I understand I am important to you, and while I care about you, I need some space. And the final boundary, no.
Now, TK,
refreshing.
we'll put a link to that in the show notes over at theminimalists.com/podcast if you want to read that tweet, or if you're watching the video version on Patreon. Jordan has it up here on the screen above our left shoulders here.
And
I
it's
love
so
that, man.
pretty.
I love this with respect to boundaries, because we often talk about boundaries, but what do those boundaries look like? Now, it's not about being no. We have to be careful of that too, right? Because it's easy to become the vice president of no. And it's just always, no, we're shooting down everyone's ideas. In fact, I had this happen to me recently. I was excited about something when I came home with, and I very rarely, Ryan knows, I've been excited 4 times in my life. And so I come home and I'm excited about something. And I talked to Bex about it, and I could see the look of trepidation on her face. And eventually we talked it through, and she got to a yes. But there was an immediate no up front based on her preconceived notions, her own desires, but also the real problem was my expectation. I walked in there with, I'm excited, so you should be excited too. And so as soon as I saw the no, she didn't even have to say no. I saw it on her features, right?
Yeah.
And so using no effectively is really important. It's like if you're doing, Professor Sean does jiu-jitsu, right? And the key to jiu-jitsu very rarely has to do with like using all your muscle, right? It's not about overpowering your opponent. In fact, it's often about the opposite, waiting till the right moment to use your muscle. But other times you're actually using sort of their force against them in a way. Can you talk about that a bit?
I mean, basically just what you said. But if it's often an insult, like, oh wow, if you're sparring with someone and they say, oh wow, you're really strong, they're insulting you because you don't know
showing your
jiu-jitsu.
strength.
You're showing your strength.
Yeah.
You're not showing your technique.
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
nice.
And I think that's nice with the boundaries. Can I see the tweet real quick?
You're really
TK?
strong, right?
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
So there are a few of these here that I think these are helpful because it's framing it in the affirmative,
Yeah,
right?
and people don't know how to frame this.
Yes.
Like, how often do we get questions where like, oh, I got a roommate or I got a family member or whatever, and like, they ask me to constantly do things, and we fight about it.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, well, you're framing it wrong.
Yeah, as opposed to, and why you fight about it? Because often it's the no immediately, right? As opposed to, I respect your opinion, but I have my own opinion as well. That is a type of boundary. It's not saying your opinion's wrong, or I think you're wrong, or you're a bad person. Hey, I understand we're both on a different page. And maybe you're trying to convince me otherwise, but I have my own opinion about this. I am not responsible for your emotions. And that's not an affirmative, but it is helping them understand, like, okay, I understand that you're angry right now, but you're not angry because of me. Maybe you're reacting to something I said or did, but I am not responsible for your emotions. And also, I'm not responsible for what? Improving your emotions, changing your emotions.
Yeah.
I can help, but I cannot do this for you. What a beautiful boundary that is. These apply really well with children, right? With Ella and her reading, she'll often ask, well, can't you just read it for me? I can help, but I can't read it for you. I can help, but I can't do this for you.
AKA, I ain't the one.
And then this one is great for de-escalating. I understand you're upset, and I am not okay with being spoken to that way.
Yes.
And I love the and as opposed to the but there.
Right.
Look, I understand you're upset. I'm not okay being spoken to that way.
Yeah.
It's not the, hey, you're wrong. but I'm not okay with that.
Yeah.
Why are you treating me that way?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why am I being treated like this? Right? I understand you're upset, but it's not okay to talk to me this way.
I love how all these boundaries are like, I don't know, it's nonviolent communication.
Yes.
It's putting the, something positive on the person you're talking to, and then the negative piece of it, or the feedback, or whatever you want to call it, it's putting it back on. It's taking ownership for
That's right.
it. And and what I just realized too is maybe it's not positive, but it's neutral, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
But as soon as you say like, you can't talk that way to me, well, now you're putting that person on the defense.
Yeah, and it's not even whether it's positive or negative. It's affirming. Hey, I understand that you're upset. That's affirming.
Right. Yeah.
What you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at some point, you will put up that wall. You can say no, or you can say, I am done talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not getting anywhere. In fact, we're getting farther away from where we'd like to be. So I'm done talking about this right now.
Yeah.
What's key here is say no when you need to say no, but understand that the key to saying no effectively is finding the way of saying no that works for you. Because you can say, I'm not okay with being spoken to that way. And you can also say, you better watch who you talking to, fool. Both of those are boundaries. One of those might be more effective than the other, depending on where you are trying to go. And sometimes when I give tips for people on how to say no or ways they could word it, there are always people that are like, it's not that complicated. I just look people in the eye and I stare them down and I say no. And I dare them to talk back to me. But so many of us don't enjoy
so strong, TK.
So many of us don't enjoy that, right? So many of us struggle with that. And so understand that all of these boundaries, there are ways you can put it across that work for you. It's like my mother always tells me, she'll say like, hey, what's your thought on this? And I'll tell her, and she's writing it down. She's like, okay, now you need to put it in a way that mama can say it, baby. And then I say, okay, say it like this. Or sometimes my wife will ask me about something and I say, oh, just tell her, say, no, girl, I can't do that. My wife's like, okay, but I don't talk like that. Can you give me another way? And I go, oh, yeah. Just say that doesn't work for me. Right?
Yes.
So it's exploring the way of saying it that feels like it's genuine when it's coming from you. Don't sound like you're reading a script. While I respect what you are trying to communicate with me, sir, it does not, it does not land in the manner in which you intended. Don't do that. You sound like a script. You won't feel authentic and they'll laugh at you.
Did you enjoy this standalone Patreon highlight? If so, you can listen to full episodes of the Minimalists private podcast available exclusively on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/theminimalists or click the link in the description. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free.